Guys she used. During depression, how did she react when you thrived and she spiraled? Story 1. When I was at my worst, Mia treated me like a vending machine you could kick until comfort fell out. Just talk to me, she'd say at 2 a.m. Then spend an hour dumping every crisis she had, every ex who ruined her, every friend who betrayed her. If I tried to share anything real, she'd go quiet and hit me with, "You're spiraling again. You're stressing me out." I paid for takeout because she couldn't eat when anxious. I drove across town because she couldn't be alone. I became a human sedative. Then I finally got help. Therapy, medication, walking every morning. I stopped answering midnight calls. I started answering my own life. The first time I said, "I'm going to bed, Mia," she laughed like I was joking. "No, seriously," she said, voice sharpening. "Don't do this to me." A week later, I posted a picture after my first 5K. Sweaty, smiling, alive. Mia texted immediately, "Must be nice to have energy. Some of us are actually struggling." I didn't bite. I just replied, "Hope you're okay." She showed up at my apartment the next day with mascara streaks and rage. "You're abandoning me," she hissed. "After everything I did for you." I stared at her. "What did you do for me, Mia?" Her mouth opened, then closed. Like her brain was flipping through a folder that didn't exist. She went from begging to bargaining to screaming in 10 minutes. "You're selfish. You're cold. You're not the same person." "That's the point," I said. She stormed out and posted vague stuff about people who pretend to heal but leave you behind. Our mutual friends started asking me what happened. I didn't defend myself. I just kept running, kept showing up to therapy, kept thriving. 2 months later, I heard she'd blown up her job after a meltdown on a client call. The same night, she tried calling me 9 times. I silenced my phone and went back to sleep. Story 2. Lexi and I weren't official, but when I was depressed, she was always around, mostly when she needed something. She'd slide into my apartment with that fake soft voice. "You're the only person who gets me." Then she'd hand me her laptop. "Can you edit this? You're so good at writing." I wrote her captions, her apology texts, her internship cover letter. I even drafted her mental health awareness post, where she used my exact words, stuff I'd told her at 3 a.m., when I thought I wasn't going to make it through the week. The post did numbers. People praised her for being so brave. When I finally crawled into treatment and started climbing out, I realized something. She didn't love me. She loved having me. I got into a paid training program, then landed a real job. I started lifting. I gained weight in the healthy way. I laughed again. And suddenly Lexi's messages changed from, "How are you?" to, "Remember when you used to be deep?" She invited me to a party for old times. I went, thinking maybe we could be normal. She pulled me aside near the kitchen, eyes bright and hungry. "Hey," she whispered, "can you tell that story about how you felt like you were drowning? People love that." I blinked. "You mean my depression?" "Not like that," she said quickly, like I was being dramatic. "Just the aesthetic of it." Something in me snapped clean. I took my phone out, opened her viral post, and read my own words back to her, word for word, while she watched my face. "You stole this," I said quietly. Her smile stiffened. "I didn't steal. I told you that in my living room when I couldn't breathe," I said. "And you used it for likes." Her eyes flicked around, calculating. "Don't do this here." I raised my voice just enough. "Did anyone else write this for you? Or was it only me?" A couple people turned. Lexi's cheeks went white hot. She grabbed my wrist and hissed, "You're ruining my night." "No," I said, pulling away. "I'm ruining your little costume." She spiraled hard after that. Angry posts, crying stories, a "toxic man tried to silence me" thread that backfired when I posted screenshots of her asking, "Can you rewrite my trauma post to hit harder?" The internet did what it does. Last I heard, she deleted everything and blamed cancel culture. I didn't cancel her. I just stopped letting her wear my pain like jewelry. Story 3. I met Hannah at work when I was barely functioning. I was quiet, exhausted, and easy to push around, which she figured out fast. She'd drop tasks on my desk with that sweet voice. "You're so reliable." "I'm drowning." If I hesitated, she'd sigh dramatically. "Wow, okay. I thought you cared." I cared too much. That was the problem. I covered her mistakes, rewrote her reports, stayed late while she left early to protect her mental health. When I tried to take a day off, she'd message, "Must be nice to rest." Some of us don't have that privilege. Then my manager finally pulled me aside and said, "You look like you're disappearing." "What's going on?" I told the truth. I got support. I set boundaries. I started saying, "No, I can't take that on." I stopped being her safety net. The first week I held the line, Hannah's mask slipped. "So you think you're better than me now?" she snapped in the break room. "No," I said. "I'm just doing my job." She laughed, sharp and mean. Therapy really made you selfish, huh? A month later, there was a promotion. I didn't even apply. My manager nominated me because my work had been carrying the team for months. When my name was announced, Hannah clapped like a robot and stared at me like I'd committed a crime. After the meeting, she cornered me by the elevators. "You stole this," she said. "I earned it," I replied. Her face twisted. "You were nothing when I found you." That line hit me like ice water, because it told me exactly who she thought she was. The person who owned my recovery. The next few weeks she unraveled. Missed deadlines. Snapped at clients. Claimed I was sabotaging her by not helping like I used to. HR got involved after she screamed at me in an open office. "You're thriving because you used me." The room went dead silent. My manager asked her calmly to repeat herself. Hannah burst into tears, stormed out, and didn't come back. That afternoon, I sat at my new desk, looked at the empty chair across from me, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Story 4. In college, I was the sad guy in our friend group. Not the funny sad, the quiet, disappearing sad. And Kira knew exactly how to use that. She'd text, "Need you. Come over." Translation, she needed a ride, homework help, food, someone to validate her latest situationship disaster. If I didn't respond fast, she'd punish me with silence, then return with, "I was worried you did something." Don't scare me like that, like I was a bad pet. When I started getting better, therapy through campus, joining a study group, actually sleeping, Kira got weird. She'd show up when I was laughing and yank me aside like she owned me. "You're acting different," she said, suspicious. "Who are you trying to impress?" "No one," I said. "I'm just..." "Okay." She didn't like that answer. She liked me dependent. Then I got a scholarship. Real money. Real recognition. My professor posted my name on the department page, and suddenly people who never noticed me were congratulating me. Kira's reaction was immediate and ugly. "Must be nice," she said, loud enough for others to hear. "Some of us don't have pity scholarships." I stared at her. "It's merit-based." She rolled her eyes. Sure, that night she tried to pull me back into the old dynamic. Drunk call, sobbing, "I can't do this without you." I listened for a minute, then said, "Kira, you need help that I can't give." Her voice went flat. "So you're abandoning me too?" "Not abandoning," I said. "Setting limits." She posted a private rant in our group chat about me being fake healed and dangerous. She expected everyone to dogpile. Instead, one friend replied, "Kira, you've been using him for years." Another, "Yeah, this is messed up." Kira started typing, deleting, typing again. Then she left the chat. 2 weeks later, I saw her on campus yelling at a guy outside a cafe, accusing him of ruining her life. People watched. Someone recorded. She looked at me across the street like I was the villain, like my success had personally insulted her. I didn't cross over. I didn't rescue her. I kept walking because for once I was choosing me. Story 5. My ex, Nora, used my depression like a leash. Whenever I tried to step away, she'd tighten it. "You can't leave," she'd whisper. "You'll fall apart without me." And when I did fall apart, she'd blame me for it. "You're so hard to love," she'd say, then accept my apology like she was granting mercy. She broke up with me right after my worst episode. "I need someone stable," she said, like she wasn't the one stirring the water. I didn't argue. I just stopped. Stopped chasing, stopped begging, stopped trying to prove I deserved basic kindness. I got help. I rebuilt. I started a small business fixing PCs and phones. It grew. I hired 2 people. I moved into a nicer place. I looked in the mirror one day and didn't hate the guy staring back. That's when Nora came back. She messaged, "I saw you're doing really well. Proud of you." Then, "We should talk." We met for coffee. She arrived late, sat down, and immediately started crying like she'd practiced it. "I'm not okay," she said. "Everything's falling apart. My boyfriend left. I lost my job. I don't have anyone." I waited for the part where she asked about me. It didn't come. She reached across the table and grabbed my hand like we were still in the old script. "I need you," she breathed. I gently pulled my hand back. "Nora, I'm sorry you're struggling, but I'm not your emergency contact anymore." Her tears vanished so fast it was scary. "Are you serious?" "Yes." Her voice rose. "After what I did for you?" I smiled, small and sad. "You mean after you convinced me I couldn't live without you?" She slapped her palm on the table hard enough that people turned. "You're disgusting. You're punishing me." "I'm protecting myself," I said, standing up. She stood too fast, knocking her chair back. "You're nothing without me." The cafe went silent. I leaned in just enough for her to hear me, calm as glass. I used to believe that. Then I walked out while she shook with rage, trapped in a scene she could no longer control. watching the version of me she built her power on finally, loudly, walk away. Story 6. When I was depressed, Tessa loved telling people she was saving me. She'd post selfies of us with captions like, "Check on your strong friends," while I sat in the background looking like a ghost. In private, she'd use the title like a weapon. "If I leave, you'll relapse," she'd say whenever I disagreed with her. "So don't start drama." I became terrified of upsetting my own girlfriend. Then I started therapy and got a dumb little job at a gym. Just cleaning equipment, folding towels. But showing up every day gave me momentum. I started working out after my shift. I made friends who didn't treat me like a project. I learned how to breathe again. Tessa noticed the second I stopped needing her. "You're acting confident," she said, like it was suspicious. "That's weird." I got a promotion. Then I started coaching clients. I posted a progress pic, not even shirtless, just smiling, holding a dumb certificate. Her text came in 10 seconds. "Don't let this go to your head." That weekend, she showed up at the gym during my session with a client. She leaned on the counter like she owned the place and laughed loudly. "So this is what you do now? Play motivational speaker?" My client's face tightened. My manager looked over. I stepped closer. "Not here," she smirked. "Oh, sorry, coach. Forgot you're famous." Then she did the thing she used to do when I was fragile. She lowered her voice and said, "You're going to crash. And when you do, don't come running to me." Something inside me clicked. "I won't." Her smirk froze, like she didn't recognize the rules changing. She left, but she didn't just leave. She spiraled. She started DMing my clients pretending to warn them about me. She emailed my manager about my mental instability. She tried to turn my recovery into a scandal. Except, I had receipts, old texts, voice notes. "If you leave me, I'll tell everyone you're crazy." HR met with her. She showed up crying, then screaming. The second she realized nobody was buying it, she shouted in the lobby, "He will do it, and it will be your fault." My manager calmly said, "Security." They walked her out like a stranger. And for the first time in my life, I felt powerful. Not because I won, but because her fear didn't control me anymore. Story 7. I used to call Emily my anchor. Looking back, she was more like a hook. When I was depressed, she'd reel me in whenever she wanted attention. She didn't ask how I was. She asked what I could do. "Can you pick me up? I can't deal with the bus. Can you stay on the phone while I fall asleep? Can you send me $40? I'm short and it's stressing me out." If I hesitated, she'd sigh and say, "Wow, I thought you understood what it's like to be overwhelmed." So I gave. Money, time, emotional labor. And she gave me a sense of purpose, which is basically a drug when you're depressed. Then I got tired of waking up angry at myself. I started working nights at a warehouse. Hard work, simple rules, move boxes, get paid, go home. The routine healed something in my brain. I stopped drinking. I started saving. A year later, I moved into my own place. Small, clean, quiet. I posted a picture of my empty living room with one chair and my dog. Emily replied, "Must be nice to have life on easy mode." Easy mode. I nearly laughed. She invited me to dinner to celebrate. Halfway through, she said it casually. "So, I'm behind on rent. You could spot me, right? You're doing well now." I put my fork down. "No." She blinked. "What?" "No," I repeated. "I'm not doing that anymore." Her face went red, then shiny with tears. "So you're punishing me because you got better?" "I'm protecting myself," I said. She leaned in and whispered, venomous, "You were nothing without me." I stood up, paid for my meal, and walked out. She followed me into the parking lot screaming, "You think you're some success story? You're still broken." The next week, she sent me a long email about how I used her support and discarded her. I forwarded it to her mom, because her mom had been the one secretly paying her bills for years. Her mom called me, exhausted, and said, "Thank you. I needed to see that." Emily's spiral hit full speed after that. She tried blaming everyone, but the problem was simple. For the first time, her favorite puppet had cut the strings. Story 8. I met Sophia in a support group. I know, bad idea. But when you're depressed, you cling to anyone who says, "Me too." At first, she was sweet. She'd bring me coffee. She'd text, "Still here?" And it meant something. Then the pattern changed. She started treating my pain like proof I belonged to her. If I went a few hours without replying, she'd send, "Are you alive?" If I said I needed space, she'd say, "Space is how people die." I became responsible for her moods, and somehow that was called love. Then my therapist asked me one question: "What happens if you say no?" I tried it. I told Sophia I couldn't meet that night because I was going to the movies with coworkers. A normal sentence. She replied, "So I'm not important anymore." That's when I realized she didn't want me healthy. Healthy meant I might leave. My life kept improving anyway. New job, better sleep, Friends. I started playing guitar again. I laughed loud in public. Sophia watched it like it was betrayal. One day she showed up outside my building unannounced. I had a feeling you were replacing me, she said, eyes wild. I'm not replacing you, I said. I'm building a life. She stepped closer. You promised you wouldn't leave. I promised I'd try to get better, I said. And I am. Her voice broke into this sharp, desperate laugh. You think you're better than me now? You think you're cured? Then she did the most humiliating thing. She screamed it so the neighbors heard. He was suicidal. Ask him. He's lying. Windows opened. A guy on the stairs froze. My stomach dropped, and then something surprising happened. I didn't crumble. I looked at her and said evenly, "Stop. This is not okay." She expected panic, tears, apology. Instead, I called my brother, asked him to come downstairs, and told Sophia she needed to leave or I'd call the police. She stared at me like I'd grown another head. She walked away shaking, but her spiral didn't end. She started posting about me online. Vague accusations, men who fake recovery, all that. Nobody cared, because I wasn't the same guy anymore. And she couldn't stand that her power over me had expired. Story 9. Jade didn't date me when I was depressed. She adopted me. She'd introduce me as my little mystery. She loved that I was quiet, that I looked at her like she was sunlight. She'd say things like, "I'm the only reason you get out of bed." I believed her. When I finally got help, the first big change wasn't my mood. It was my backbone. I stopped laughing at jokes that hurt. I stopped apologizing for existing. Jade hated it. At a party, someone complimented me. My haircut, my outfit, something small. I said thanks without looking at Jade for permission. She grabbed my arm and squeezed hard. "Don't get cocky," she whispered, smiling for the room. I pulled my arm away. "Don't do that." Her smile twitched. "Excuse me?" I watched her spiral in real time. She started making little digs in front of people. "He's been weirdly confident lately. Therapy made him selfish. He thinks he's hot now." I stayed calm. That made her worse. Weeks later, I got a new role at work with a pay bump. I didn't even tell her right away because I wanted to enjoy it without the inevitable poison. She found out through a mutual friend and showed up at my place like a hurricane. "So you're hiding things now?" she snapped. "I'm allowed to have good news," I said. She laughed cruelly. "Good news? You're one bad day away from crawling back." That sentence, "one bad day away," made everything crystal clear. She wasn't scared I'd fail. She was counting on it. I opened the door and said, "We're done." Her face went blank, then furious. "You can't break up with me." I just did. She started crying, then screaming, then bargaining. She threatened to tell everyone I was unstable. She threatened to call my boss. She threatened to hurt herself because of me. I called her sister instead. When Jade realized I wasn't playing the old game, she collapsed on the floor in my hallway, sobbing like a child. And I closed the door. Not out of cruelty, out of survival. Story 10. I used to think my ex, Lena, was the reason I survived depression. Now I realize she just liked being the person I thanked. She'd hold me when I shook, then later use it as currency. "Remember what I did for you," she'd say whenever she wanted her way. If I wanted to see my friends, after I stayed up all night with you, if I said her flirting bothered me. Wow, you're really going to accuse me after I saved you? Eventually, I didn't know what was love and what was debt. After we broke up, I hit rock bottom alone. And weirdly, that's where I found my freedom. Nobody to impress. Nobody to please. Just me, my therapist, and a promise. I'm not living like this forever. I started a tiny routine. Shower, walk, eat, work. I took a certification course at night. 6 months later, I landed a better job. A year later, I was making real money. My face looked different. Softer, calmer, present. Lena came back when she smelled stability. She messaged, "I always knew you'd do great. I'm proud of you." Then, "I'm going through a hard time. Could really use you." We met at a bar. She was already half drunk, talking fast. "My life is a mess," she said, "but seeing you, it's like the universe is giving me a sign." I listened, polite. She took that as permission and slid into my space. "We could try again," she whispered. "You owe it to us." "Oh, we?" I repeated. She blinked. "You know what I mean." I leaned back. "You used to tell me you saved me." "I did save you," she snapped. "No," I said, calm. "I survived you." That set her off like a match. She started crying loudly, telling strangers at the bar that I was heartless and ungrateful. Then she tried to grab my arm like she could physically pull me back into the old version of me. The bartender stepped in. "Ma'am, stop!" Lena spun around, furious, and screamed, "He's nothing without me." And that's when everyone looked at her like she was the problem. Because she was. I walked out into the cold night, breathed in, and felt something rare. Victory that didn't need revenge. Story 11. When I was depressed, Rena didn't just date me. She managed me. She'd decide when I ate, when I slept, who I talked to. She told everyone it was support, but it felt like being kept in a glass box. You're fragile, she'd say. People will hurt you. I'm protecting you. Translation. Stay dependent. I finally started improving when I got a night shift job at a hotel front desk. Quiet hours, steady routine, small conversations that didn't cost my soul. I saved money. I got stronger. I stopped asking permission. Rena noticed. She started checking my phone. First as jokes, then as rules. One night she showed up at the hotel lobby at 1 a.m. Hair perfect, eyes cold. Who's Maya? She asked, holding my phone like evidence. Maya is my coworker, I said. She covered my break. Rena smiled like a shark. So you're cheating now that you're better. I didn't argue. I just took my phone back. Go home. Her face cracked. You can't talk to me like that. I looked around the lobby. Guests, cameras, my manager's office door. I can. I'm at work. She tried to cry. When that didn't move me, she went louder. He's unstable. He's not safe. My manager stepped out. Is there a problem? Rena swung toward him. Yes. He's mentally ill and you're letting him... My manager cut her off. Calm. Professional. Ma'am, you need to leave. Rena froze. She'd never been told no by anyone but me, and I used to fold. She didn't leave quietly. She screamed in the lobby that I was using recovery as an excuse to be abusive. Security walked her out. A guest filmed it. The next day, she texted me, "You humiliated me." After everything I did, I replied, "You embarrassed yourself. Don't come back." She spiraled for weeks. Emails, fake apologies, threats. But she couldn't get traction because the world had seen who was actually out of control. And it wasn't me. Story 12. I used to call her Sun, not because she made me happy, but because I revolved around her. When I was depressed, Marcy loved the power. She'd sit on my bed and stroke my hair like I was a pet. Good boy, she'd whisper when I canceled plans with friends for her. If I ever showed anger, she'd tilt her head. Your depression is talking. She didn't want my feelings, she wanted my obedience. After she dumped me, I'm tired of being your caretaker. I expected to die inside. Instead, I got angry. The clean kind of anger that builds. I started running. I built habits. I learned how to cook. I found a mentor at work who didn't treat me like a problem. 2 years later, I was leading a small team and speaking in meetings without shaking. Then Marcy reappeared like a ghost with lipstick. She ran into me at a friend's birthday. Her eyes lit up in a way that made my skin crawl. Wow, she said loud. Look at you. All functional. I smiled politely. Hi, Marcy. She kept poking, testing for the old weakness. So, are you still, sad? I'm good, I said. She laughed. Must be nice. I'm having the worst year of my life. I nodded. Sorry to hear that. That's when she snapped. She leaned in and whispered, You're supposed to care. There it was. The entitlement. Later, she cornered me by the kitchen and said, We should talk. I miss what we had. You miss control, I said, still calm. Her eyes widened like I'd slapped her. Excuse me? You liked me broken, I said. I'm not that guy. She spiraled in front of everyone. Tears, accusations, calling me cruel. She even tried to tell the room I used to be dangerous, and she saved people from me. My friend, whose birthday it was, looked at her and said, Marcy, you're making this about you. Stop! Marcy's face collapsed into pure panic, because the room didn't tilt toward her anymore. I left early, not shaking, not apologizing, and behind me, she was the one falling apart. Story 13. My depression made me quiet. Quiet men are easy targets for loud women who mistake silence for consent. Ava used me like a spare battery. When she was low, she plugged into me. She'd show up, cry about her dad, her boss, her ex, her rent. I'd listen until sunrise. She'd fall asleep in my bed and leave in the morning without even a kiss. You're such a safe person, she'd say, like that was a compliment and not a job description. When I started getting better, I didn't announce it. I just stopped being available. Ava's texts went from sweet to frantic. Are you mad? Did I do something? Hello? I didn't ghost. I answered honestly, I'm focusing on myself. 2 weeks later, I posted a picture at a volunteer event, smiling with new friends. Ava commented instantly, Cute. Didn't know you were a social butterfly now. Then she DM'd me. We need to talk. I'm in a really dark place. Old me would have sprinted. New me asked, Do you have a therapist? Family? She sent, Wow. So you're abandoning me. I realized she was trying to pull my guilt lever like a slot machine. I met her for coffee anyway. Public place, daylight, boundaries. She came in already crying. I can't do this without you, she said. I said quietly, you were never doing it with me. You were doing it on me. Her tears stopped. Her eyes went hard. You're being mean. I'm being accurate, I said. Ava stood up so fast her chair scraped. You're not special. You're replaceable. I nodded. Then replace me. She stormed out and posted vague stuff about men who weaponize boundaries. But the funny part, people in her own comments started asking, wait, weren't you posting him as your emotional support last year? Ava's spiral wasn't my fault. It was just the moment she realized I wasn't her charger anymore. Story 14. When I was depressed, I thought I had to accept whatever love I could get. That's how Chloe got in. She'd call me her comfort person. She'd show up at my apartment and demand cuddles like it was a prescription. If I didn't have energy, she'd pout. So I'm not worth it. Then she'd punish me by flirting with other guys, and when I reacted, she'd say, your insecurity is exhausting. It was a loop. She hurt me, then blamed my pain. After we ended, I started rebuilding quietly. I took a coding boot camp. I got a junior dev job. I started traveling on weekends. Cheap trains, new cities, fresh air. My depression didn't vanish, but it stopped driving. Then Chloe saw me at a mutual friend's wedding. She did that slow up and down look like she was shopping. Oh my God, she said, laughing. You look normal. Thanks, I said. She grabbed my arm and dragged me toward the bar. So you have money now? I blinked. What? Chloe smiled like it was obvious. Come on. You always wanted to be the provider type. I pulled my arm back. I'm not providing anything for you. Her face tightened. Are you serious? After all the emotional labor I did? I almost laughed. Emotional labor? She meant the nights she used my bed as a charging station, then left when I needed support. She started drinking fast. By the third glass, she was loud enough for the table to hear. He's acting like he's too good for me now. I leaned in, calm. Chloe, this isn't a negotiation, she snapped. You'd be dead without me. That line hit the whole table like a punch. People went silent. The bride's cousin, big dude, said, what the hell is wrong with you? Chloe froze, then tried to backpedal, then started crying. But it wasn't cute crying. It was unraveling. Security eventually walked her out of the venue while she screamed my name like she owned it. I stayed. I danced. I ate cake. And for the first time, I didn't feel haunted by her version of my story. Story 15. Nina dated me during my worst year and she never let me forget it. Every argument ended with the same line. I stayed when you were depressed. No one else would. It worked for a long time. It made me feel like I owed her my spine. Then I got better. Slowly. Painfully. And the debt started to feel fake. I joined a men's group. I learned how to talk without apologizing. I stopped saying yes out of fear. I started a small side business doing photography for local events. It grew. People started recognizing my work. Nina's reaction wasn't pride. It was irritation. You're always busy now, she complained. You used to have time for me, I said. I used to have no life. She laughed like that was a joke. Then she tried to sabotage. She'd accidentally schedule plans on my gig nights. She'd show up late to pick fights right before I had to leave. One time she spilled coffee on my camera bag and said, oops, maybe that's a sign you shouldn't be doing this. That's when I finally saw it. My success threatened her leverage. The breaking point came at a charity event I was shooting. Nina arrived drunk, heels clicking like a warning. She walked right into the middle of the room, grabbed my arm and said loudly, tell them about your depression. Tell them how I saved you. People stared. I gently removed her hand. Go sit down. Nina's eyes went wild. Don't you dare talk to me like I'm nothing. I kept my voice low. You're making a scene. She screamed. He's faking it. He's always been broken. The organizer stepped in. Ma'am, you need to leave. Nina pointed at me, shaking. He'll collapse without me. You'll see. But nobody looked at me like I was broken. They looked at her like she was dangerous. She got escorted out, still yelling. Later, she texted, you ruined my life. I replied, no, you just lost control over mine. And I went back to taking photos. Hands steady, heart steady, finally free. Story 16. When I was depressed, Kayla loved being the one who understood me. Not quietly, publicly. She'd comment on my posts. I'm here, always. Then DM me 3 minutes later. Did you see my comment? People need to know I'm supporting you. At first, I thought it was sweet. Then it became a job. If I didn't reply fast enough, she'd send, don't ignore me. I'm trying to help you. If I went out with coworkers, she'd say, so you're cured now? Cute? The worst part? She used my low points as content. I'd tell her something heavy at 1 a.m. And the next day, she'd post a vague story. Carrying someone's darkness is exhausting. Everyone would flutter with hearts. I started getting better the boring way. Therapy, sun, routine. I joined a climbing gym. I made friends who didn't treat my pain like a trophy. I stopped oversharing. Kayla panicked. She showed up at the gym one evening, standing too close to the wall while I belayed for my buddy. She waved like she owned the place. "Babe, I brought you your emotional support water," she shouted. People looked over. I walked over quietly. "Kayla, please don't do that here." Her smile stayed, but her eyes went sharp. "Oh, sorry. Forgot you're thriving now." On the drive home, she snapped, "You're hiding me. You're ashamed of me." "I'm setting boundaries," I said. "No," she said, voice rising. "You're trying to erase the part where I saved you." I finally said the thing I'd been scared to say for months. "You didn't save me. You managed me." She went dead quiet. Then she did something insane. She opened her phone and started recording me. "Say that again," she demanded. "Say it so I can show people how ungrateful you are." I pulled into a gas station, got out, and opened my door. "Get out." Her jaw dropped. "You can't kick me out." "Out," I repeated. She stumbled onto the pavement, still filming, screaming, "This is who he really is." A couple at the next pump stared. The cashier walked outside. Kayla kept recording like the camera would make her right. I got back in my car, locked the doors, and drove away while she raged at a phone screen, finally performing without an audience that cared. Story 17. I met Brooke in an online gaming group when I was depressed and basically nocturnal. She'd pull me into voice chat at 3 a.m. and say, "You're my safe space." Then she'd use me like a shield. If she got into drama with someone, she'd say, "Tell them to stop. They listen to you." If she needed money for rent, she'd joke, "Come on, you're my husband in spirit." I was lonely, so I played along. Then I got better. New job, early mornings, actual sleep. I started streaming casually, nothing big, just for fun. Somehow it took off. My clip hit a subreddit, and suddenly I had real followers, real sponsors emailing me. Brooke's messages went from flirty to frantic overnight. "Don't forget who was there when you had nobody. You owe me a shout out. I basically built your confidence." She demanded to mod my chat. I said no. The next stream, she came into my chat under a burner account and started spamming. "He used to be suicidal LOL, and ask him about his meds." I froze mid-sentence. The chat went quiet in that eerie way. I ended the stream immediately. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. Rage. I opened Discord and said, "What the hell was that?" Brooke didn't deny it. She laughed. "Now you know how it feels to be exposed." "Why would you do that?" I asked. "Because you're acting brand new," she snapped. "You think you're famous and I'm just background." Then she hit me with the line that made my stomach turn. "If you won't give me attention, I'll take it." So I did the one thing she didn't expect. I posted the screenshots. Her asking for money. Her saying, "Mention me or I'll ruin your image." Her admitting it was her burner. My community didn't dogpile her at first. They just saw her. Clearly. Brooke spiraled publicly, tweeting that I weaponized mental health, but the receipts were brutal. Sponsors didn't drop me. Viewers didn't leave. 2 nights later, I went live again, heart pounding. And the top comment was, "Proud of you for protecting yourself." Brooke joined the chat one last time and typed, "You're nothing without me." And for the first time, I smiled on camera and said, "Watch me." Story 18. During my depression, I barely left my apartment. That's how Serena slid into my life so easily. She didn't need me to go anywhere. She just needed me available. She'd come over with wine and a story. Always a crisis. Always a villain. Her boss, her roommate, her narcissist ex. She'd cry on my chest and then, like clockwork, ask for something. "Can you drive me tomorrow? Can you fix my resume? Can you call my landlord and pretend you're my cousin?" If I hesitated, she'd soften her voice. "I thought you cared about me." I did. Too much. When I started recovering, I got a normal daytime job and started saying no. Serena acted like I'd joined a cult. "Ever since you started therapy," she said, "you've gotten cold." I was still the same person. I just wasn't easily guilted. Then I got promoted, and I made the mistake of telling her. She clapped like she was proud, then immediately said, "So you can help me now, right? I might get evicted." I said, "I can't pay your rent." She stared like I'd slapped her. "You literally wouldn't be alive without me." That sentence landed wrong, because she wasn't even sure it was true. She just liked saying it. A week later, I hosted a small get-together with co-workers. Serena invited herself. She arrived dressed like she was walking a red carpet, already buzzing. She hugged me too tight and announced to the room, "I'm basically his caretaker." My co-workers laughed awkwardly. Serena leaned into the center of the room, eyes glittering, and said, Tell them how bad you were. Tell them what you almost did." My whole body went cold. I said, calm but firm, "Stop." Serena's face twisted. "Oh my God. Don't be dramatic. I walked to the door and opened it. Leave. Now. She burst into a loud, ugly laugh. You're kicking me out? After I saved you, my coworker Jenna stood up and said, he asked you to stop. Why are you doing this? Serena snapped her head toward Jenna like a threatened animal. Mind your business. Jenna didn't sit down. No. This is our business now. Serena looked around, realizing nobody was on her side. That's when she truly spiraled. Screaming, pointing, calling me a monster, trying to tear me down in front of people who only knew the version of me who showed up and worked and smiled. Security from the building came upstairs because of the noise. Serena got dragged into the hallway, still yelling my name like a curse, while I stood in my doorway, steady, and watched her lose the stage she thought she owned. Story 19. I was in grad school when I hit my lowest point. My girlfriend Paige turned my depression into her identity, dating a broken genius. She loved the aesthetic. She'd bring me soup and take pictures of the bowl on my nightstand. Self-care night, she'd caption. Then she'd whisper, smile. People worry about you. I didn't have the energy to fight it. Paige also loved the perks. I wrote her papers, fixed her citations, practiced her presentations with her. She'd kiss my forehead and say, you're so useful when you focus. I wish I was joking. Then my advisor offered me a research position. Real stipend, real purpose. I started living in the lab in a good way. Busy, focused, proud. My depression loosened its grip. Paige hated the lab. It took me away from being her prop. She started picking fights right before my deadlines. She'd cry and say, you're abandoning me. Then demand I stay home to prove I loved her. When I didn't, she escalated. On the day of my conference presentation, my biggest moment, Paige showed up uninvited in the front row. I felt my stomach drop. I started presenting anyway. Slide 1, slide 2. My voice steadied. I was doing it. I was actually doing it. Then Paige stood up and said loudly, tell them about your mental breakdown last year. The room went dead silent. Professors turned their heads. My advisor's face went pale. Paige smiled like she'd won something. I took a breath and said into the mic, that's private, and it's inappropriate. Paige's smile faltered. She expected me to crumble. I continued the presentation. Paige started laughing, loud, bitter, and muttered, fake. Then she walked toward the stage like she was going to take the mic. 2 conference staff intercepted her. She shouted, he's a fraud! I wrote half of that. My advisor stood up and said, calm as ice. Security. They escorted Paige out while she screamed that I used her, that I stole her work, that I owe her. People recorded. People stared. I finished my talk with my hands shaking, but my voice didn't break. Afterward, my advisor looked at me and said, I'm sorry. Also, you handled that with more composure than most faculty. Paige texted me a single line later, you ruined my life. I didn't reply. I was too busy realizing she'd tried to set me on fire in public, and failed. Story 20. My ex, Lacey, used me during depression in the quietest way. She needed someone beneath her. She'd call me sweet like it meant harmless. She'd say, I like you better when you're soft. Anytime I stood up for myself. If I talked about goals, she'd laugh and say, let's not get delusional. The relationship was a slow erasing. When we broke up, she told me, you'll always come back. Guys like you always do. That line haunted me until it didn't. I started rebuilding like my life depended on it. Because it did. Gym at 6 a.m. Therapy at lunch. Coding at night. I got a better job. Then a better one. I started dressing like I respected myself. I stopped shrinking. Months later, I ran into Lacey at a mutual friend's birthday dinner. She scanned me like she didn't recognize me. Then she laughed too loud. Oh my God, look at you. You got confident. Hey Lacey, I said, neutral. She leaned over the table and said, so how's the depression? Still your whole personality? A couple people winced. I smiled slightly. Nope. Lacey's eyes narrowed. Must be nice. I've had the worst year. Everyone's leaving me. My job sucks. My new boyfriend is useless. She said it like I was supposed to jump in and fix it. Then she reached for my hand in front of everyone. We should talk. Like really talk. I pulled my hand back. No. The table went quiet. Lacey blinked, genuinely shocked. Are you kidding? After everything, I'm not doing this, I said. And that's when she spiraled. Right there in the restaurant. Tears, then anger, then that nasty laugh. You're punishing me because you finally got a life. I kept my voice calm. I'm choosing mine. Lacey stood up so fast her chair fell backward. She pointed at me, shaking, and yelled, he was nothing. I made him. The manager walked over. Ma'am, you need to sit down. Lacey snapped at the manager too. Mind your... Ma'am, the manager repeated louder. Leave. People at nearby tables were staring now. Phones out. Lacey looked around, realizing the room wasn't going to bend for her, and her face collapsed into panic. She grabbed her purse, stormed toward the door, then spun back for one last shot, like she needed a final line for the audience. "You'll relapse," she screamed. "You'll come crawling back." I didn't flinch. I just watched her get escorted out under bright restaurant lights, still performing, still unraveling, while everyone at my table sat in stunned silence at the simple truth. She couldn't stand that I survived without her. Story 21. I was depressed when I met Vanessa, and she treated that like a cheat code. She didn't have to earn trust. She just stepped into the empty space and acted like she belonged there. She'd show up after her shifts, kick off her shoes, and say, "Okay, talk," like my pain was a show she paid for. If I said I didn't have words, she'd get annoyed. "So you're shutting me out," she'd sigh. "I'm trying to connect." But the connection was one way. My role was to be soft, grateful, pliable. When I started improving, she didn't celebrate. She started testing me. "You're not going to act all independent and forget me, right?" she'd ask, smiling. I got a new job. I started sleeping 8 hours. I gained muscle. I laughed without permission. Vanessa's smile changed. It wasn't pride. It was hunger mixed with fear. One night she showed up at my place with her friend, drunk and loud, and announced, "This is my boyfriend. He used to be really unstable, but I fixed him." Her friend giggled. I felt my face heat up. "Don't say that," I said quietly. Vanessa blinked like she didn't understand the language. "Relax. It's funny." "It's humiliating," I replied. The air shifted. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "Wow, someone's confident." She started picking fights after that. Tiny traps. If I stayed calm, she'd escalate until I snapped, then point and say, "See? You're still broken," like she needed evidence. The final trap was at a friend's housewarming. Vanessa got tipsy, then told a story to the whole room about the night I almost had to call the cops because he was so depressed. Everyone went silent. Someone's mouth actually dropped. I stood up and said clearly, "We're leaving. Now." Vanessa laughed, but it sounded brittle. "Or what?" "Or I leave alone," I said. Her face went blank, then furious. She grabbed my wrist hard. "Don't embarrass me." I pulled my wrist free. "You embarrassed yourself." Vanessa's spiral was immediate. She started crying, then shouting, then telling the room I was abandoning her and weaponizing therapy. She tried to get people to hold me there, like a crowd could make me stay. But my friend, the host, stepped between us and said, "Vanessa, stop. You're being cruel." Vanessa stared at her like she'd been slapped. "Are you serious?" "Yes," my friend said. "Leave him alone." Vanessa stormed out, slamming the door so hard a picture fell off the wall. I walked home alone, shaking. Not from relapse, but from the relief of finally choosing dignity over her approval. Story 22. During my depression, I worked a dead-end retail job, and Zoe was the only person who texted me, "Good morning." That's how she got me. Not with love, just with attention. Zoe loved playing savior. She'd show up with energy drinks, act like my apartment was a disaster she was heroically surviving, and then tell me, "You're lucky I'm here." Most girls wouldn't deal with this. I said thank you like it was normal. Then I got better and stopped being impressed by crumbs. I got into a trade program, electrician apprentice. Early mornings, hard work, real progress. I started coming home tired but proud. Different kind of tired. Zoe hated it because my attention wasn't free anymore. She began calling me at work, then getting mad when I didn't answer. "Wow," she'd text. "So your stupid wires matter more than me." One day, my foreman pulled me aside. "Your girlfriend keeps calling the office. Handle it." That's when I realized Zoe wasn't missing me. She was missing control. That weekend, she demanded we go to a fancy restaurant. "To celebrate you," she said. But she didn't pay. She never did. She ordered the most expensive stuff and then smiled sweetly. "You've got it now, right, Mr. Future?" When the check came, she leaned in and whispered, "Don't embarrass me." I stared at the bill. My stomach tightened. Not because I couldn't pay, but because she was training me again. I put my card away. "Separate checks," I told the server. Zoe's face went full shock. "Are you kidding? Separate checks?" I repeated. She laughed loudly like it was a prank. Then her voice dropped. "You're trying to punish me." "I'm trying to stop being used," I said. Zoe slammed her menu down. "You were nothing when I met you." The server froze mid-step. People stared. Zoe started crying and shouting in the same breath, accusing me of turning into an asshole and forgetting who helped you. The manager came over. Zoe pointed at me and yelled, "He's mentally unstable." The manager looked at me, then at her, and said, "Ma'am, you need to calm down or leave." Zoe's spiral got worse. She got escorted out. I paid my own meal, tipped extra, and walked out to her screaming in the parking lot, "You'll come back when you crash." I didn't look back. My hands were steady on my keys.